This boy was born extraordinary because while everyone else grew from 1 to 80 years old, he went the other way. From 80 to 1, he was born to kill his mother, or at least that's what his father thought. The first time he saw him, his father looked at him like he was a monster. His wrinkled, sagging skin seemed to be a constant reminder to his father that his child was a monster. The father carefully covered his face and left him on a street corner. Fortunately, the nuns at the sanitarium found the child. However, the doctor couldn't stop shaking his head after examining the child. This newborn was more like an old man who had already stepped into his grave. He suffered from many rare diseases of old age, cataracts, arthritis, aging bones, and severe organ failure. As a result, the doctors told the nuns that the baby would not live more than a week. The janitor, who could not bear children, insisted that the child was a gift from God. She named the child Benjamin. The old man accepted the child and explained that he looked like my ex-husband. 7 years passed. Benjamin, like all the people here, became an old man. He was full of gray hair and wrinkles, but in reality, he was still a child, like any other 7-year-old. He was curious about everything in the world, but due to a severely aging body, whenever he rose his wheelchair to play, his caregiver mom would yank him back into place, listening to the last blessings of life with those old people. But as time passed, Benjamin's health got better and better. He managed to get out of the wheelchair that had been with him for 7 years. He tried walking slowly onto crutches, but soon he lost one. By the end of the day, he was even able to run completely off the crutches. The caregiver was very pleased with Benjamin's transformation and hugged him with excitement, but Benjamin's unusual appearance meant he could never make normal friends or fit in with his peers. It wasn't until the appearance of a little girl named Daisy, Benjamin experienced the beauty of childlike innocence. Daisy comes to the orphanage every week to visit her grandmother. While talking with Benjamin, Daisy noticed that Benjamin's tone of voice was different from the other old people. The two soon became good friends. Together they listened to the old men tell stories of their youth. They hid in the children's secret room and talked to each other about their troubles. Benjamin told Daisy that he was only 12 years old. Daisy wasn't surprised at all and said she had guessed it. After learning that the other might not live long, he carefully stroked Benjamin's cheek, hoping to bring him some comfort. But just then, Daisy's grandmother came up to them. Upon seeing this, she sent her granddaughter back to her room and warned them not to see each other again. She also grits her teeth at Benjamin and tells him not to do anything shameful. Benjamin hangs his head and wonders what he did wrong. The janitor's mom comforts Benjamin by saying, "I'll see how different you are. He was born different, that is." Benjamin wondered, but with his face so aged, he was probably destined to be alone. That day, Benjamin saw a ship going out to sea. Suddenly, a very bold idea came to him to become a seaman on the ship. As he worked hard and never complained, the captain appreciated him. The captain invited him to an evening banquet. To the captain's surprise, Benjamin had never been with a woman at his age. So that night, the captain was very kind and thought nothing of it and arranged for Benjamin to be with a beautiful woman. But the inexperienced Benjamin was soon disliked by the beautiful women, but he also seemed to understand the pleasure that money could bring him. That night, he tried drinking for the first time with a rich man who was very funny. After hearing Benjamin's story, the father who abandoned Benjamin recognized his son at once, but he didn't dare recognize Benjamin and pretended to be his friend. From time to time, I would come over to say hello. Life as an adult gave Benjamin a sense of joy in life. He was surprised to realize that he was still an old man, but his health was getting better. His skin and muscles were getting better. Daisy continued to sneak into the nursing home to play with Benjamin. He became bolder and bolder. He snuffed Daisy out when she slept with her grandmother. They find the captain and climb the lighthouse. From the lighthouse, they saw the sea for the first time. Perhaps life is like the sea that day, with its rough waves and life and death. The old woman, who patiently taught Benjamin to play the piano and gave him a haircut, collapsed on a seemingly peaceful morning. Benjamin knew that his life should not be confined to a nursing home. He packed his bag and prepared to depart. His mother was very upset, and before he left, Daisy called out to Benjamin. She told Benjamin to send her a postcard no matter what. Benjamin experienced a new life with the captain. As she grew older, Daisy became an accomplished dancer. She still received postcards from Benjamin, but this time, the content of the postcard was a big disappointment to Daisy because Benjamin is in love with a beautiful and sexy woman, Elizabeth. Elizabeth's appearance made Benjamin really feel the love. He became more and more energetic, as if she was his destined partner. But it wasn't long before Elizabeth left Benjamin, leaving only the words, "I'm glad I met you." Soon the years passed. Benjamin's ship was attacked during a war. He was the only survivor in a life and death situation. Benjamin returned to his hometown after a long time to meet his mother. The mother was very excited because the change in Benjamin was amazing. Daisy was also amazed. The two talked about the past like old friends. Daisy had grown into a fine lady. To Benjamin, She was the most beautiful girl he had ever seen in his life. Daisy danced for Benjamin in the silent night. She wanted to express her love for Benjamin with her body, but Benjamin could not accept Daisy's caresses and rejected her. As time passed, their love deteriorated and Daisy left Benjamin. The next morning, Benjamin's biological father found him. He was very sick and dying. He wanted Benjamin to accompany him on his last journey as a friend. He showed Benjamin his button factory, which was all he had. While talking, he suddenly called out to Benjamin and told him his secret. He was sorry for abandoning Benjamin. He had been watching his son ever since he recognized him. He had made a will that Benjamin would inherit his entire estate upon his death, but Benjamin is still in shock and can't accept this. He questioned his father and then turned away. But in the end, Benjamin did not want his father to die a tragic death. Finally, he returns to his father's window and shows him the ocean one last time. His father's death makes Benjamin realize something. He came to New York without stopping and summoned up the courage to pursue Daisy. Daisy is as beautiful and touching as ever. Benjamin watched the show patiently. After the show, he slowly walked backstage to express his love to Daisy. However, Daisy was still accompanied by other people. However, he accepted Daisy's invitation and attended the party together. At the party, Daisy deliberately makes intimate gestures around different men. Benjamin is jealous, but there is nothing he can do but turn around and leave. Daisy is upset, but she knows she can't throw away what she has now. Soon, Daisy becomes a top dancer with her pretty face and quick steps. However, an accident broke Daisy's right leg. After that, she could no longer perform difficult dance moves. On the hospital bed, she waited for Benjamin, who was dressed in a suit. Benjamin promised to take good care of Daisy, but Daisy didn't want her lover to see her like this, so she pleads with Benjamin to disappear from her life. To protect Daisy's self-esteem, Benjamin chose to guard Daisy where she couldn't see. 10 years later, the two never seemed to see each other again. Upon meeting again, they could no longer contain the love in their hearts. They hugged each other tightly and kissed passionately in the restaurant. Now they are of similar age. One is knowledgeable and beautiful. The other is mature and steady. They watched the sunrise and sunset on the sea together. Together they set up their cozy little home. It is one of the few happy times in their lives. Encouraged by her lover, Daisy has her own stage again. She opened a dance class. As time passed, Daisy's belly grew, but Benjamin was worried. He worried that the child, like himself, would never be able to lead a normal life. 10 months passed. Daisy gave birth to a beautiful daughter. As the child grew up, Benjamin was very satisfied, but his body continued to grow. This meant that one day he would be smaller than his daughter. Knowing his daughter needed a father, he persuaded Daisy to remarry. He sold his father's button factory and gave Daisy everything he had. For more than 10 years, Benjamin traveled around the world. He has seen the customs of different regions. Everywhere he went, he would send a postcard to Daisy. Later, he returned to the town and met the elderly Daisy and her beautiful daughter. The moment he shook hands with Daisy's husband, he knew Daisy had found a good father for her daughter, but his heart was a little sour. If he could, he would like to grow old with his beloved. It's been 10 years, and Daisy hasn't received a postcard from Benjamin for a long time. When she saw Benjamin again, he had turned into a pimple-faced little boy. His memory had deteriorated to the point that he had forgotten the name Daisy. The elderly Daisy took little Benjamin back to her home and cared for him lovingly. A few years later, Benjamin was fully transformed into a tiny baby. At the end of his life, he seemed to recognize Daisy again. Then his eyes slowly closed and he passed away peacefully in the arms of his beloved. Benjamin's life was both unfortunate and fortunate. Fortunately, he met his kind foster mother and Daisy. Unfortunately, he couldn't grow old with the one he loved like all normal people do. Well, that's all for today's movie.